Time for us to go through crafting our own spells. If you've been following along, you should now have access to the Arcane University. If you're just joining us, we've done all the recommendations already, had a bit of a travel around the world. And in addition to that, you should have access to the Frostcrag Spire. If you want to use that instead, you'll be able to find the appropriate candles in the Imperial City. Can't remember exactly where. Anyways, once you have access to the Arcane University, we can go into Praxographical Center. Once we're in here, we can interact with the Altar of Spellmaking. In this menu, we can create spells using any spell effects that we have access to. Now, you have to be able to cast the spell to be able to use the desired effect that you want to put into your spell. So not only are you going to need to go around and each of the Mage Guilds, as you should be doing, collecting all of the different types of spells. Make sure you go to the churches as well, because that's where you'll find a lot of the restoration magic. Some of them will be beyond your skill level, and so you may need to increase the skill level to be able to use certain attributes. A good example of this is Chameleon, because we are not able to use Chameleon, the standard spell, until you reach level 50 in Illusion, so you may need to power that up if you want to use it. Now, there are tons of things that we can do here. You can actually add something like Chameleon on self to an attack spell, doing something kind of interesting like doing some damage whilst making yourself hidden. That's a thing that you can obviously do. But the big thing that you're going to want to do if you're on high difficulties is start doing something called spell stacking. Now, I'm not a pro at the kind of craziness that can be done with these spells, because there are an amazing number of ways in which we can utilize this. But one of the things the game doesn't tell you, and is probably not how it was intended to be used, is if we use weakness debuffs, they will actually stack with each other, provided they come from a different spell. What that means is if I make the same spell twice, such as Zapdos and Zapuno here, but I kind of changed the effects around a little bit, those two weaknesses to magic and shock are going to stack with each other, thereby exponentially increasing the damage of the spell. I'm afraid I don't actually know what this number means as it goes up. It's obviously to do with the cost of the spell, but isn't always a one-to-one comparison. Maybe it's the base cost before your skill is considered. The higher that is, the higher the cost of the spell is going to be. So sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to predict. I just want to say, when it comes to fortifying skills and attributes, fortifying your skills over 100 is mostly useless. I think there used to be some kind of effect where 25 extra acrobatics over 100 could prevent fall damage, and I think athletics can still make you move faster and give you more stamina regeneration. Fortify magic and fortify health, however, are always available, but I don't really like using them very much unless you're going to put it onto armor as an enchantment. I don't really use those very much in my loadout. And the same goes for attribute. Like, you can put some endurance on there or something like this. A fun one is speed, because speed doesn't seem to have a cap, so we can get ourselves 200 speed and move across the game like a horse. And of course, if you prefer to summon and you want to summon less often, you can of course make your own custom summon that has a much better duration on it, so that you don't need to keep recasting it quite as often. Another good use can be to make like a haggle spell, so you can charm a person. This basically increases how much they like you, so you can put this to 100 so that they definitely always like you maximum. Give it like a 3-second duration on there. You can see it's quite cheap. And then in addition to that, if you wanted to, you could actually fortify your mercantile skill to maximum on self. And now when you go and talk to a merchant, you can get all the best prices without having to increase the skills to do so. A little bit of demonstration of the spell stacking, then we're going to go and face against a fairly basic enemy in the arena. Got a Minotaur lined up. We're just going to see just how crazy the damage is on Master. Now, I'm probably going to take a load of damage because my character is not quite ready for Master difficulty yet, but the build is getting there. And I'm just going to use magic. I actually like to do something else as well as this, which we'll go over an enchantment later on. But I do like to have weakness to whatever it is that I want to attack with on my bow as well. So I've gone with shock because I find there's not too many enemies that are weak to shock, but you can have 3 elements on one spell. You can have like all sorts of different combinations. You should realistically do what you think is going to work for you. So what we're going to see here is I'm going to tag it with an arrow. That's going to give it weakness to magic. I'm going to fire it with this spell, and I can't imagine it's still going to be alive by the time I get to the 3rd spell. Because if we keep on alternating spells, it will keep on multiplying by itself, so long as it's not the previous spell that you hit it with. So if I go in, get weakness to magic on there, and you can see we just keep alternating the spells, and there's pretty much nothing that can stand against you.